Hola amigos, bienvenidos a la guía para el platino de Stanley Parabel Ultra Deluxe. Antes de nada, deciros que conforme iniciéis el juego, le digáis que sí hemos jugado antes, aunque sea mentira, porque es muy importante para ahorrarnos tener que hacer muchos finales. Si lo hacemos así, solamente tenemos que hacer dos finales, el normal bueno y el normal malo, que os lo dejo aquí en la guía. Bueno, configuramos todo y una vez ya estemos en el menú, nos vamos al apartado de configuración. Todo esto realmente no sirve de nada, no, nunca a la hora, da igual, da igual. Esto, darle todo siempre para adelante y ya está. Nos van a hacer preguntas diferentes y demás historias. Bueno, como os decía, estando ya en el menú principal, nos vamos a la opción de configuración para sacarnos dos trofeitos. Tenemos que cambiar todos los valores, pasando todos los que son de barritas por todos los rangos numéricos.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Una vez ya tenemos ambos trofeos, nos vamos a iniciar partida, aunque lo único que vamos a hacer es saltar. No se puede saltar, por eso mismo nos van a dar un trofeo. Ya con esto salimos al menú, cerramos el juego, sí, el juego totalmente, y nos vamos a las opciones de sistema, donde vamos a cambiar la fecha y hora, cambiando el año para que sea pues dentro de más de 10 años, es decir, de 2035 del día de hoy en adelante. Bueno, como os decía, esto cada vez que iniciemos nos van a preguntar muchas cosillas. La hora, que siempre da igual, si queréis poner alguna, ponedla y os va a dar diferentes diálogos. Pues aquí, por ejemplo, como que siempre pongo a las 12, otro que si le pones la hora distinta, se la cambias, te da las gracias porque se la has puesto la real. Pero bueno, esto todo para adelante, como os decía antes. Venga, iniciamos partida y automáticamente nos van a saltar 2 trofeos. Uno por jugar de nuevo y otro por haber jugado después de 10 años. Podríais dejar el juego guardado sin entrar y entrar dentro de 10 años para no tener que cambiar la fecha del sistema. Bueno, nos vamos por la primera puerta que tenemos a la derecha, la 430, y simplemente tenemos que seguir los pasos que nos va diciendo el narrador.
I can't just give these merits away for such little effort, a measly 5 clicks. Now, suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks. No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this trophy to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way no matter the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417? Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437. Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so. Now, back to door number 437. Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine. All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk. Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416. We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again! Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 43. Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today.
Ya con nuestro trofeo de la puerta, nos vamos adelante por el pasillo y seguimos sus indicaciones. Lo que nos va a llevar, pues simplemente para adelante. Tenemos ahora la puerta izquierda. El camino es siempre el mismo. Os recomiendo que lo vayáis aprendiendo porque tenemos una speedrun que hacer por este pasillo.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Una vez que entremos aquí, nos vamos al fondo a la máquina con el código y ponemos 2 veces 8888 y nos soltará el trofeo de 8888. Muchos 8.
What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss
ya
had been
teniendo
keeping
esto,
from him.
ahora nos canta la clave y aprendeosla de memoria porque la vamos a tener que poner varias veces. Y ya se nos abrirá la puerta y seguimos todo el resto. No la pongáis aquí hasta que os la haya dicho. Muy importante, ¿vale? Os la tiene que decir la primera vez.
By sheer luck, amazing, he stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Aquí hay muchos botones, muchos colorines, pero no hay que hacer absolutamente nada. Nos vamos a la escalera del fondo, a la habitación del Power, Power Facility, y pulsamos el botón de Off. Ya con esto, después de todo el sermón que nos echa, tendremos el trofeo de pasarnos el juego.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Automáticamente, cuando lo hacemos, pues empieza de nuevo el bucle y lo repetimos exactamente igual que la vez anterior.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Aquí ahora sí que nos vamos corriendo al panel y ponemos la clave 2845 rapidísimo antes de que él nos la diga para que nos diga que somos impacientes.
Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ahora exactamente igual que antes, nos vamos a la habitación del fondo, pero esta vez cambiamos de botón. Antes apagamos el sistema y ahora vamos a encenderlo.
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Bueno, pues como veis, aquí hemos arrancado los sistemas, pero lo que va a hacer es autodestruirse en 2 minutos. Así que bueno, simplemente ya esperar a que llegue al final.
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Y cuando reaparecemos, nos vamos corriendo para repetir la primera run que hicimos. Es decir, lo que hemos estado haciendo. Ahora vemos ya que tenemos el New Content desbloqueado porque le dijimos que sí que hemos jugado. ¿Vale? Ahora mismo no es importante esa puerta. Primero es hacernos la speedrun. Porque luego esa puerta cambia. Entonces, lo que tenemos que hacer es prepararnos para que la chimenea se nos abra de forma automática en cuanto que lleguemos. La primera vez, pues bueno, no se nos abre rápido, por aquí ya debería estar abriéndose. Entramos aquí, bueno, ponemos la clave, la ponemos corriendo otra vez.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Bueno, ya habiendo pasado la pantalla de carga, le damos a empezar desde cero de nuevo y vamos corriendo, repitiendo lo mismo.
All of his co-workers were gone.
A ver si tenemos suerte esta vez, que creo que tampoco esta vez. Lo que va a hacer es, nos va a decir que, qué sorpresa, hay una puerta secreta y nos la abrirá, pero tardará un poquito más.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by blah blah blah. Dark secrets.
Bueno, pues eso, ya nos la abre automáticamente y en este momento volvemos a repetir lo mismo de empezar la partida de cero. Yo la he hecho bajando el ascensor porque como hay un punto de carga, por si hace algún salvado o algo, que lo haga aquí dentro. Y ya sí, empezar de nuevo saliendo disparado hacia adelante. Es la hora de correr a tope, de no pararnos, no chocarnos con nada y llegar en menos de 4 minutos y 20 segundos al final. Evidentemente, los dos finales que hemos visto, uno es mucho más corto que el otro. Pues como os dije anteriormente, tenemos que pulsar la opción de Off. Aquí alguna vez he intentado subirme por la mesa, pero no es posible.
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Aquí vemos que ya se está abriendo la puerta. Que se nos ponga oscuro. Hay veces que se ve más oscuro que esta vez. Y vamos corriendo, pulsando la X. Si tenéis un poquito de dificultad, podéis poneros el puntero en pantalla para así no fallar e ir directo, sobre todo en los botones que vienen ahora a continuación.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Súper rápido hacia el botón y lo pulsamos. Y aquí hay un pequeño truco que es subirse en la silla. Simplemente pues nos movemos hacia ella, nos subimos a la baranda y saltamos. Bueno, no saltamos, andamos hacia adelante hasta donde está la pasarela. Aquí también se puede hacer con los escritorios que hay a la derecha, pero no he sido capaz de hacerlo ninguna de las veces. Ojo, son 4 minutos 20 segundos sin contar los tiempos de carga. Es decir, la pantallita de loading no cuenta. Aquí igual, pulsamos el botón. Desde lejos os recomiendo que vayáis dándole a la X. Y aquí detrás de la barrera, hacia adelante, hasta el fondo.
That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible?
Aquí empujando ya hacia adelante. Y yo os recomiendo que cojáis siempre el camino de la derecha, que es el que yo he estado cogiendo. Me parece un poquito más corto. Si dividimos la pantalla en dos, se ve claramente que está en la parte derecha. Y corriendo hacia el botón de off y dándole a la X desde lejos. Ya aquí realmente se acaba el speedrun. Y es hasta donde deberíamos de medirnos nuestra agilidad para llegar.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do,
Ya en este
or
punto
how to feel.
nos vamos hacia adelante del todo de la pasarela, abajo de las escaleras y arriba pulsado para que en el momento en el que esté abajo del todo salgamos lo más rápido posible, porque todo este tiempo cuenta. Ahora, y efectivamente lo hemos conseguido, hemos tenido muchísima suerte.
The immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Y ahora ya lo que nos queda es ir a por los coleccionables. Si lo hemos hecho todo bien, bueno, la puerta seguirá abierta y nos vamos por ella, y es simplemente pues seguir las indicaciones. Hay veces que más adelante, cuando lleguemos a una habitación, te dirá unos juegos que tienes que hacer u otros. En PlayStation 4, por ejemplo, no tuve que coger un cubo que hay, y en PlayStation 5, pues, que es esta partida, sí que lo he tenido que coger. Eso te darás cuenta cuando llegues a la salida, te cerrará y te dirá pues, el que debes de hacer.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Todo esto es súper importante para poder desbloquear los coleccionables. Realmente es simple, lo dejo pues, bueno, por ver todo el contenido del juego, pero la verdad que es seguir las indicaciones del narrador.
Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle. Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
La verdad que el juego es bastante gracioso, te ríes bastante si escuchas los diálogos o los lees, porque llegar aquí y que te digan gracias por disfrutar el nuevo contenido, cuando lo único que te han puesto es un cartelito, bueno, luego otros muchos que tiene por ahí más adelante también.
What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend? Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise. These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the Memory Zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. To be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Bueno, pues como nos acaba de decir, aquí lo que podemos hacer es darle al botón de skip. Y es de hecho lo que tenemos que hacer todo el rato. La verdad que los diálogos en PlayStation 4 sí que los estuve viendo bastante y son graciosos. Si vais directos a por el platino lo más rápido posible, pues saltaroslo todo y ya está. Pero por lo menos te puedes echar una risa si los oyes.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about our... But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their... The end is never the end, 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 is never the...
Bueno, aquí ya con esto se nos ha roto el botón, se ha destruido todo. Lo que tenemos que hacer es salir al desierto y pues, tirar para adelante. Aunque no se vea nada. Seguimos andando un poquito hasta que nos aparezca algo. Pues no, me he quedado con vosotros, no salía nada. Aquí se reinicia y volvemos a empezar de nuevo en la oficina.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did
Vamos
it
de
look
nuevo
like? There was a
a buscar la
computer,
puerta
perhaps,
de
and a
nuevo
painting.
contenido.
Was it a
Que la
painting
verdad que
or a
está
photo? He
bastante
could no longer
molona
recall.
con este cartel de neón.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign.
Pues aquí
Yes, I
lo
have
mismo de
something very
antes, seguimos hacia
exciting to
adelante.
show you.
Estamos en la carretilla de carga y seguimos las indicaciones. ¿Sabes? Nos van a llevar a sitios diferentes. No os preocupéis que no es lo mismo.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on.
Bueno, y aquí es donde os comento que hay varios juegos u opciones que iban a meter como nuevo contenido y pues os pueden tocar varias diferentes. Aquí tenemos la máquina de trofeos. Una máquina que te regala el trofeo.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to
Únicamente hay que darle a la palanca para desbloquearlo, pero está rota. No es tan fácil. Hay que darle todavía un poquito más de cariño a este trofeo. Ahora que salimos de aquí, nos vamos a la parte de coleccionables, justo arriba de donde estamos.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? Ah, collectibles.
Aunque parezca que no andamos, hay que dejar pulsado hacia arriba, hacia adelante, que sí que se está desplazando. Nos vamos acercando a la luz, lo que pasa es que está bastante lejana. Veis que ya se va viendo más nítida la imagen. Y ahí en el centro hay algo. Ese algo es nuestro primer coleccionable. Aquí la salida está a la derecha, pero como os digo, hay que jugar un poquito con las cosas. Esta realmente hemos soltado antes, así que no. ¿Veis? Ahí la tenemos. Ahí está un agujero de caída infinita. Ojo, no es infinito.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap fall. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue on. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it
Bueno, y
even
aquí
mean?
intentando
But the
irme,
Stanley,
pues,
oh goodness, Stanley, this
parece
is
que
fairly
no.
awkward.
No le
I
gusta,
hate to do this, but
un poquito incómodo
before you
y que
leave,
quiere que
you
vayamos
really should
la
go to the
exposición
bucket
del balde.
exhibit.
Ojo,
You see,
el
there's a
balde,
surprise I was
yo
going
no
to
sabía lo
spring
que
on you
era,
later,
es un
and it
cubo.
involves the bucket.
Lo tenemos
And I
aquí
really do
a mano
hate to
derecha.
break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the
Vale, es un
bucket,
poco
okay?
feo, no me
All
gusta,
right,
a la
I'll get out
izquierda.
of your hair now.
Aquí. Bueno, pero bueno, me gusta. Esta en PlayStation 4 me lo hice, lo de darle al botón. Porque está curioso y lo he querido poner aquí también.
What do players really
El cubo
want?
está justo
And
enfrente.
of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and valid. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature. A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Y ahora sí, ya con nuestro cubo en mano, que es lo que os digo, no le veo el sentido, ya nos podemos ir a la salida
Does anyone give out awards
directamente.
for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already. So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Bueno, después de ese tostón ya tenemos el Stanley Parable 2. Iniciamos la partida. Y ahora lo que tenemos que hacer es ir a recoger el resto de coleccionables. Son fáciles, así que aquí os dejo con juego como lo he hecho. El cubo, no sé, lo he visto y lo he cogido, se supone que te da suerte, ¿no?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me. Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anlerines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anlerines. None of us can. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off
En esta
on the
pasarela
right foot.
tenemos que tener cuidado y posicionarnos en la parte
I realize that investing in your trust in
en la
someone
que
else can be
caigamos
difficult, but the
en
fact
paralelo
is that the story has been about
al
nothing
pasillo.
but you all this time.
Y en el momento en el que veamos
There's
que
someone
estamos
you've been
en el centro,
neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've
andamos hacia
forgotten
adelante.
about.
Ahora, ahí,
Really?
justo.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Ya tenemos 6 de los coleccionables, pero eso no son todo, hay mucho más.
Stanley, I'm
Además, hay
sorry,
que
but I
desbloquear
have to put
el
a
epílogo.
pause on things.
Sigue siendo
It's
igual
those
que antes.
figurines,
Hay que
those
seguir
figures. I
simplemente
haven't
los
stopped
pasos
thinking
que te
about
va
them since you
indicando
nabbed
el
every
narrador.
last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time. Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley. And here was a second Stanlerine. I'll be honest, back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember? Hey, that's exactly right. It was here in the boss's bathroom. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything. Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened. This was the 5th mini-Stan, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy. Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else. And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, Memory Zone. No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more. And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched? Yes, I love that video. Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one. This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this? Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on every... Oh, yes! The two doors! Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions, he would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Una vez terminado, nos salimos al menú Y deberíamos de tener la opción de epílogo. Si os pasa como a mí de que no lo tenéis, no os preocupéis. Saliros del juego, cerrarlo y volved a abrirlo. Así varias veces hasta que lo tengáis disponible en el menú. Eso es porque no lo hemos cerrado y abierto las suficientes veces. Aquí, como siempre, pues todo aceptar. Ahora sí, ya entramos en el epílogo y en la última parte para el trofeo. Aquí no hay pérdida ninguna, ¿eh? Podéis estar tranquilos. Hay coleccionables que recoger, pero no tienen dificultad. Están bastante a la vista y además que tienes que pasar por ahí. Eso sí, no os dejéis ninguna atrás. Aquí no hay que hacer nada. Esperamos un ratito hasta que nos aparezca una de las casas por las que pasamos antes. Ya con la casa aquí, nos dirigimos hacia ella. Y pues todo el camino recto. Como nos vaya diciendo la narración. Bueno, aquí creo que no hay narrador, pero es simplemente seguir pues, el cable del generador, por ejemplo, que creo que lleva todo el camino. Aquí tenemos una reseña falsa, hecha por ellos. Está curiosa. Seguimos el cable. Y ahí delante vemos ya muchísimo brillo. Aquí es donde están los últimos coleccionables que hay que recoger. Y una vez recogidos todos, nos metemos por el agujerito ese que tenemos delante. En esta habitación, pues tocamos el ordenador para que se encienda y nos hable. Podéis poner los títulos que os den la gana. Yo le di que sí, por si acaso, darle a vosotros también. No vaya a ser que no os quiera dar la máquina de los trofeos. A la hora la moví por hacerle algo, aquí igual. Y como veis ya tenemos aquí el menú nuevo, un cochecito. Cada vez que vamos a iniciar nos va a salir un número nuevo y un fondo diferente también. Bueno, iniciamos partida de nuevo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
Y nos
mean?
vamos
Stanley
a la
decided to go to the
puerta
meeting
de
room.
nuevo
Perhaps he had
contenido.
simply missed a memo.
Tenemos que volver a la sala en la que estuvimos antes para llegar a la máquina.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of
Y ya
interesting
aquí
concepts,
nos vamos
then surely
por
the
detrás
game will
del
sort of
cartel
naturally
este
spring up
que
around them.
teníamos
Here
allí,
we are.
el
Go on,
muñequito
try out some of the new
aguantando
features.
el trofeo y el pedazo de cartel que nos indica que allí es donde está el trofeo. ¡Ey! Stanley.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll
Bueno,
come to
y
this
ahora
lever, and when
sí
you
que
pull it,
funciona
the trophy
y ya
will be
tenemos
given.
nuestro
As you
trofeo.
can see, the machine is not working yet since... Wait, what in the holy...
Y una vez seguido todos estos pasos y obtenido todos los trofeos, nos falta únicamente el de dedicación, que hay que jugar durante 24 horas un martes. Podéis hacerlo poniendo la consola en la fecha de un día anterior a un martes a las 23:55, iniciar el juego y dejarlo durante 24 horas encendida. Ojo que tienes que estar jugando, ¿vale? es decir, iniciar partida, y que Stanley esté pues en el mapa, situado dentro de alguna de las habitaciones de la oficina. Ojo, porque si el mando se apaga, es posible que no os cuente. ¿Vale? Espero que os haya servido de ayuda, que te haya gustado. Déjame like y suscríbete si no lo estás. Nos vemos la próxima. Chao, chao.